Hey friends, we are looking at the Tiger I World War II tank by IMEX Model Company, also known as Masterbrixx. And this is a set that has 689 pieces. It's set number IMX 38501. I want to thank IMEX for sending it over to me to build. In this video, we're going to review it. We'll take a closer look. We'll do a 360. We'll look at all the details on there as well. And I'll tell you about some of the quirks I encountered with this particular brick brand. This brick brand is made by Oxford, which is a Korean model company that's been around since the 60s. So they've approached their parts slightly differently than we're used to. And in the end, it was actually quite enjoyable. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Before we do that, some quick factoids about this particular vehicle. It was a German tank used between the years of 1942 and 1945. It was superseded by the Tiger II. It had a crew of 5 people, and the main gun was 8.8 centimeters in diameter for the ammunition, and that's roughly 3.5 inches. As far as the armor goes, depending on which side of the vehicle you're talking about, the armor plating was quite thick, just over 3 inches up to almost 5 inches, depending on the section that we're talking about. It was very well armored. It was in use for quite a few years. Let's turn it all the way around. You can see that this is a pretty standard tank build, mostly one color. As you saw in my unboxing, I mentioned that the color doesn't quite match any color we're used to with Lego, but I think it's probably the right color for this particular vehicle. And it has, of course, treads. The treads do move, so they are free rolling. Let's see, there we go, free rolling there. You can see that they're going. And one of the things I love about this model is there's none of those like super fragile, I don't know what you'd call them, almost like fender pieces that come off over the edges. Usually in other models, they're really fragile and they break right off when you accidentally touch them, but you don't get that in this model. They're all pretty sturdy. Everything on here is fairly sturdy. All right, so let's zoom in, take a closer look. So the first thing that the instructions mention is that you can fire something out of the tip of the tank gun. So I think here's how it works. You can take a stud, and this little piece on the very end can go in and out just a tiny amount. And so we can pop a stud in there like that. And then if I were to, I think it's push it backwards. There we go. It pops. So I don't know if you could tell, but it popped out of there with a little bit of force. And now that little stud is probably gone forever. But it does have that as a shooting feature. Along the top here too, we have a machine gun. And the machine gun is actually 3 parts. There's a hinged part underneath it. It's not, yeah, there you go. It's hinged right there. And then it's got this ammunition magazine on the side of it. So it's actually quite nice. And this kit came with a bunch of those custom pieces on one sprue like this. So there's actually quite a few things in here. My understanding is that this sprue is shared with a different tank, which I believe is the Abrams tank. So some of these parts are for the Abram, and then some are for this Tiger I. And in order to save on complexity or maybe production complexity, they just put both into one sprue. They also did this. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not the Abrams, it's the Sherman. So they also did that with the stickers. So there are some stickers in here that I believe are for the Sherman tank. The decals here, which are, I believe they're transfers. And you can pick either kind of worn versions that have these scuff marks for the emblem, or you can have a pristine one there instead. So they actually let you choose. Here's a closer look at the scuffing on that. All right, that's what it comes with on each side. And they're different per side. And then the numbers are nice and scuffed up. The model itself is chunky. It's like really thick and went together really well. It has quite a bit of heft to it, and it's solidly built up with bricks. And then the turret moves pretty well. And you can see that there's this thread running along the edge on both sides. What that is I looked it up, it is the tow cable, and I believe that's to help it, if it gets stuck, to help it get out a jam. And then the other use, I believe, is in figuring out or to work with the treads in case you need to either replace the treads, swap the treads. These cables help with that maintenance. There is this like suggestion of a cover here where a crew member can come up. It doesn't actually open though. And then in the back here, quite a bit of detail here for the managing that tow cable. And also here's additional detail back here in the back. So it's a pretty good amount of detail considering the number of pieces, because we're only talking about 689 pieces, so less than 700 pieces, but you're getting a model that's quite large, pretty substantial, and I feel like the detail, the scaling is all pretty good. And as I mentioned, I think in my unboxing, I'm totally cool with tanks and certain military vehicles having their own custom pieces. I think sometimes they need to do that in order to achieve some extra authenticity at that scale, because you can't really brick build this, and the second you put a Lego piece in there, it just doesn't quite look right. So I think adding a molded piece is perfectly fine, or I should say a custom molded piece. And then I'm not sure if this is meant to open, but there are these pieces here that are on these ratcheted hinges. So, and this one is one, and then there's another one over here. So either they're meant to open, or maybe that's just for detail. I don't really know. And then let's take a look at the bottom real quick. So here's the bottom, not too much to look at there. It's all very plain. But I wanted to point out that as I was building it, they had me add these 1x6 bricks to the underside, like here, and then I had to do 6 of them all the way on each side. And I wasn't sure what that was for, because it actually ended up, when these are in place, you can't move the treads because the treads are not touching the tabletop. And so I was confused why they had me add these in. And plus they looked a little bit ugly because you could kind of see them from the front. If you were looking at it, you could see them. Turns out that they have you add these for stability, so that as you're building the model is stable, and it's held up. It's not, there's not pressure on the tracks or the treads like that. So I thought that was a clever touch for them to have you add all of these, and then near the very end they ask you to take all of them off. So that's how I know it was just for support as you're building it. So I've never seen a model that had that before, where they were thinking about your build experience and want to make sure that you were having, you were not having issues as you're trying to build it. So I appreciate that they did that. Another quirk was that the stickers are not mentioned in the instructions at all. So these decals, they don't tell you to put them on the model or where to put them on. There's just no step that's not even mentioned. It's a little bit strange. And then lastly, the bags were not numbered. And for almost 700 pieces, to not have numbered bags, it was kind of difficult. You had to open up a lot, and I had to have a lot of sorting trays ready to go. So I do wish that they had numbered bags. That would have been a nice thing to do. All right, and then here's a minifigure for scale. Okay, so that's the look. I hope you found this helpful. If you liked the video, please hit like, and if you could subscribe, it'd help me keep showing you and sharing with you cool new builds. Thanks so much.